This list will detail 10 unfortunate people who have suffered from severe disfigurements. A few of these people, with the help of modern medicine, have been able to live a more normal life. Some of the following tales are tragic, others inspire hope. Here are 10 shocking stories. Rudy Santos. Rudy Santos, a 69-year-old from the Philippines, suffers from an ultra-rare condition known as Craniopicus parasiticus, or parasitic twin. He's the oldest person with this condition. Attached to Rudy's pelvis and abdomen are an extra pair of arms and legs, which developed when his twin was absorbed into his body during pregnancy. Also connected to his body are an extra pair of nipples and the undeveloped head with an ear and hair. Rudy became a national celebrity while he's traveling with the freak show during the 1970s and 80s. He would earn up to 20,000 pesos per night as a main attraction. This was at the show where he gained his stage name Octoman. Rudy was like to a god, and women would line up to be with him. Strangely, Rudy vanished in the late 80s and ended up living in extreme poverty over 10 years. In 2008, 2 doctors examined him to see whether surgery would be viable or not. They concluded that they would be able to remove the parasitic twin, but Rudy decided not to have the operation. He said that he had become fond of the extra growth. Manar Maged, born in Cairo in 2004, also suffered from parasitic twin. Manar and her twin sister were fused together at the head. Her head had no limbs and could only smile, blink and cry. At 10 months of age, Manar was taken to the hospital in Cairo after she became very ill. It was decided that without the removal of the parasitic twin, they would both die, unfortunately. After they were separated, the twin died as it used the blood supply of Manar and could not survive without her. Less than a year later, Manar also died to a brain infection which is caused by the complications of the surgery. Minh Anh, a Vietnamese orphan, also was born with a mysterious skin disorder which causes the skin to flake and forms scales. His condition is thought to have caused by Agent Orange, the difficult chemical used by the USA during the Vietnam War. His condition causes him to overeat, and his skin can become very uncomfortable without regular baths. Fellow orphans have nicknamed him Fish. Minh used to be violent to staff members and other children at the orphanage, so they had to restrain him and tie him to his bed. When Minh was young, he met Brenda, aged 79, from the UK. She travels to Vietnam annually to see him. They formed a close bond over the years and have become very good friends. Brenda has helped Minh in many ways at the orphanage. She persuaded the staff not to tie him down when he was violent, and she has found him a friend to take him swimming every week, which is now Minh's favorite hobby. José Mestre. Probably the most well-known person in this list is José Mestre, the Elephant Man. Born in 1836, the Englishman became a celebrity in London and also gained fame around the world. He was born with the prestigious syndrome, a condition that causes huge lumps to develop on the skin and the bones to deform and thicken. Joseph's mother died when he was 11 and he was rejected by his father. He left home at a young age and worked in Leicester before contacting the showman. He was the main act and gained his stage name the Elephant Man. Due to the size of his head, Joseph had to sleep sitting up. His head was so heavy that it was impossible for him to sleep laying down. One night in 1890, he attempted to sleep like normal people and dislocated his neck, and in the process he was found dead the next morning. Didier Montalvo. Didier Montalvo from Rudy, Colombia developed congenital melanocytic nevis, which causes moles to grow all over his body at an incredibly fast rate. As a result to this disease, a mole grows so large that it covers Didier's entire back. He was dubbed Turtle Boy by his peers as his huge mole looked like a shell. Apparently, Didier was conceived on an ellipse, and that locals believed his mole was the work of the devil. For this reason, he was shunned by other children and banned from local school. When British surgeon Neil Boothroyd heard about Didier's condition, he traveled to Bogota so he could operate and remove the mole. Didier was 6 years old when the surgery was performed. It was a success and the whole mole was excised. Mandy Sellars. Mandy Sellars, from Lancashire, UK, was diagnosed with prestigious syndrome, the same medical condition as José Merrick, Prosthesia syndrome is extremely rare and is thought to affect only 120 people worldwide. It has caused Mandy's legs to become extremely enlarged, weighed a total of 95 kilograms and measuring 1 meter in circumference, as her feet are so large. She has to buy specially fitted shoes which cost around $4,000. She also has a personalized car, allowing her to drive without using her feet. Doctors decided to amputate one of Mandy's legs after she contracted deep veins thrombose and MRSA. After the operation, the remaining section of her leg kept growing and became too heavy for a prosthetic. She has now received a new prosthetic leg, which should last the rest of her life. Petero Byakatonda. Petero Byakatonda is a boy from a small renewal town in Uganda who suffers from Crouzon syndrome. This affects about 1 in every 25,000 births, but Petero's case is an extreme one. Crouzon syndrome causes malformation in the skull, which in turn pushes the eyeballs out of the sockets and the ears down, leading to the problem with sight and hearing. In developed countries, the deformities caused by Crouzon syndrome are usually treated very soon after birth, but Petero did not receive this treatment, as he lives 100 miles away from the hospital. Petero's neighbors tormented and shunned him for his appearance, and he locked himself away in his room, hardly ever leaving the house. A doctor noticed his conditions while driving through Petero's village. The doctor raised enough money for Petero to travel to Austin, Texas, for life-changing surgery. He spent 6 months there while doctors reshaped his skull. This put a lot of pressure off his optic nerves and brain. A second operation was needed to reconstruct the bone around Petero's eyes. Complications occurred during the second surgery. He lost 80% of his total blood volume and his condition turned critical. Luckily, he survived and now he lives a happy life in his village. José Mestre from Lisbon, Portugal, developed a huge facial deformity which started growing on his lips when he was 14. Over the years, his tumor grew to be over 5 kilograms in weight. It causes him to become blind in one eye and made it very hard for him to breathe, eat and sleep. He spent 40 years of his life without treatment because of years of medical misinformation, some misdiagnosis, lack of finance and reluctance to undergo treatment due to religious beliefs. In 2010, José traveled to Chicago to undergo 4 operations to remove his tumor and restore his facial features. The tumor mass was removed completely in the first operation, and the next 3 aimed to reconstruct his face. The operations were a success, and José traveled back to Lisbon a few weeks after the treatment. Dede Koswara. Dede Koswara is an Indonesian man. For most of his life has endured extremely rare fungal infection, epidermolysis verrucosformis. This causes large and hard fungal growth to protrude from the skin, which looks remarkably like a tree bark. This had become extremely uncomfortable for Dede, preventing him from performing basic functions with his hands. As they are so large and heavy, the fungus grows all over his body, but is mainly found on his hands and feet. In 2008, Dede received treatment in the USA to remove 6 kilograms of twatch from his body. After this was done, skin grafts were applied to his hands and face. Unfortunately, the surgery did not stop the fungus from growing, and he had further operations in 2011. There is no cure for Dede's condition. Fetus in fetu, an extremely rare developmental abnormality that occurs in 1 out of every 500,000 births. The reason for this condition is unclear, but many scientists believe that it occurs in the early stages of pregnancy. When one fetus is developed by the other, many parasitic twins are small and undeveloped, but others can grow to large size. Alamjan Nematilaev from Kazakhstan had parasitic twin and developed hair, limbs, teeth, nails, genitals, a head and a basic face. Alamjan twin had been living inside for him for 7 years before it was discovered in 2003. Alamjan's school doctor noticed that the swollen abdomen and sent him to the hospital. Doctors examined him and believed that the lump was a cyst. The following week, Alamjan was operated, and to the doctor's surprise, they found a baby measuring 2 kilograms. in weight and 20 centimeters in length. The doctor who carried out the surgery said Alman looked like he was in the 6th month of pregnancy. The boy's parents believed that this condition was caused by radiation from the Chernobyl disaster, but experts have dismissed this idea. Alamjan fully recovered from the operation, but to this day he still does not know that his twin grew inside him. If you like this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to be the first one to see our next new video.